All right, we're looking at the June 5th, 2017 issue of Time magazine. Cover story, The Weight Loss Trap, Low Carb, Low Fat, Paleo, Vegan, Flexitarian, Why Your Diet Isn't Working. I'm going to provide my comments and criticisms about this article and why I think Time magazine has failed miserably with this piece. First of all, let's look in here. I want to note that the weight loss industry is a $66 billion per year industry, and that's no joke. Right off the bat, one thing I noticed is that they are calling into question the model of calories in, calories out. They're not deliberately condemning calories in versus calories out, but they're creating doubt around that model. And you know what goes with that? The idea that fat does not make you fat, which is reiterated right here. Even the low-fat craze that kicked off in the late 1970s, which was based on the intuitively appealing but incorrect notion that eating fat will make you fat, depended on the calorie counting model of weight loss. It goes on to say, that's not what happened when people went low-fat though. The diet trend coincided with weight gain. And then they go on to cite how in the 1990s, obesity was only 15% of the population, but by 2010, it was up to 25%, and now it's up to more than 40%. And they try to loosely associate that with the low-fat diet trend of the 1990s.
Fat does not make you fat.
So they get into this a little bit deeper, and they're quoting an NIH scientist named Kevin Hall. And he says, you take a bunch of people and randomly assign them to follow a low-carb diet or a low-fat diet. You follow them for a couple of years, and what you tend to see is that the average weight loss is almost no different between the two groups as a whole. But within each group, there are people who are very successful, people who don't lose any weight, and people who gain weight. All right, first of all, there's no citation for this comment. It's just the quote from Kevin Hall, an NIH scientist. In fact, there's no citations in this entire article, but I have seen the studies and the meta-analysis that compare so-called, quote, low-fat diets to low-carb diets. And the reality is that in the so-called low-fat diets, the participants were either eating a diet that was not low-fat in the realm of 30% calories from fat, which resembles the standard American diet at about 35 to 40% calories from fat. So the people in these studies either weren't eating really low-fat diets, or they had very poor adherence to diets, or they were self-reporting based on recollection of what they ate. So there's three flaws in the studies that purport that low-fat diets do not do better than low-carb diets. Kevin Hall and a doctor named Yoni Friedhoff are quoted from an op-ed they authored in The Lancet as saying, crowning a diet king because it delivers a clinically meaningless difference in body weight fuels the diet hype, not help. Okay, so my comment on that is a whole foods plant-based diet with clinically relevant trials showing reversals of heart disease and reversals of type 2 diabetes, does that amount to meaningless differences in body weight? I don't seem to understand why these guys are not advocating a whole foods plant-based diet. It seems they're trying to create confusion about which diets are optimal for health. And so they try to play off of the meta-analysis, which purported low-fat studies, which are actually not low-fat, do about the same as low-carb studies, by casting doubt on the difference between low-fat and low-carb diets in terms of performance and health and overall health metrics. This article fails to provide any meaningful insights into how people can obtain not just weight loss, but better overall health. If the markers of health are so ambiguous in the difference between low-fat and low-carb diets, and it's just a wash, then where are the dietary trials showing reversals of heart disease on low-carb diets? Where are the trials that show reversals of type 2 diabetes on low-carb diets? Show show us the glucose tolerance test on low-carb diets, please. But they don't even mention that on a whole foods plant-based diet, there are clinical trials showing reversals of heart disease and reversals of type 2 diabetes. So Time Magazine is broadcasting confusing messages about health and weight loss. Who pays for that? Really, who pays for this publication to be printed? It's the same issue. I flip this open and brought to you by bacon wrapped steak. We're not sure how to lose weight. People seem to do good on every diet. Why don't you have some bacon wrapped steaks?